A row is growing over how much executives of the Road Traffic Infringement Agency are earning. These are the people who manage the state entity that collects fines. We're joined by Wayne Duvenage of OUTA. Wayne, good evening and thank you so much for your time. It's almost unbelievable seeing the figures that are mentioned there. And of course, a really great investigation by the Sunday Times and Jill Gifford, who's been, following that story. Let's just begin by looking at the staggering rate at which the salaries of executives have increased over a period of time. You move from, just in 5 years, executives earning 1.3 million rand as an average salary to suddenly earning 7.5 million rand.
Yeah, it's outrageous, quite frankly. That is gross maladministration, bordering on fraud. I think it's very clear to us that there's abuse of positions, there's abuse of power, which is why we think is the reason, although we don't know, because the Minister of Transport or somebody in the Transport Department is not speaking to society about what's actually going on here. But when a CFO and a CEO are dismissed, and we hear these outrageous increases, as you've just said there, and the CEO himself going from 3.3 million, I think, in 1 year to over 10 million rand the next year. This is gross abuse of power, and these are issues that have been highlighted internally. A whistleblower, as well as the Auditor General, has exposed this wrongdoing. But there are no consequences other than just being dismissed. What we'd like to see is real accountability. Has the ex-CFO and CEO been told to pay back the money? Because was this a case of them just paying themselves massive salary increases? Did the board approve this? There are too many questions that are going unanswered here.
One of the things that immediately comes to mind is a breakdown in governance, because you have the executives that are giving themselves these increases, but there's also a role that the board has to play when it comes to signing off on these matters.
Yes, and that's exactly what we're saying. Where was the oversight? How did this happen in the first place? And are people just doing whatever they want? Now, if you have a look at the revenue of the RTIA, I mean, it was put in place, or if you just go back to 2014, it had income of about 81 million, but that grew quite quickly because they're managing traffic fines. This is becoming a money-making entity, and what we find in these state entities is when they start finding these loopholes, and the next one is the RTMC, by the way, they're putting in massive increases related to your vehicle licenses, registering online as opposed to in the office. That's another story for another day. But what you find in these state entities is they start to find ways to make good money, and then they find very clever ways to spend it. And with little oversight, this is where the corruption and fraud creeps in at a very rapid rate.
What is your expectation in as far as the accountability beyond the institution is concerned?
Well, the minister needs to take hold of this debacle. This is outrageous. And he needs to tell us what has happened here. The investigation needs to be an independent one so that we can have a look. We'd like to get Treasury involved, because the Treasury also gives money to the RTIA. And so now they're starting to make their own money. So we need an independent oversight and insights and inquiry into exactly what's going on and what is going to happen to stop this. Because if you also look in this organization in 2014, other operating expenses were about 25 million rand in that year. That shot up in 4 years to 2018 to 125 million. Now, what is that money going towards? And then you see rental of mobile buses. Rental of mobile buses at 11 million rand a year. You can build buses to do that and own them yourself. So somebody who's got those rental contracts and what's going on. So there's so much smoke in this space and no answers. We expect the minister to take hold of the situation, get independent inquiries, get civil society to even have some oversight here so that we can have answers, because there's far too much going wrong in the Department of Transport.
Wayne, you talk about the creative ways in which agencies like the Road Infringement Agency have been employing in order to still be able to generate revenue under what has been a period of COVID-19 and many people experiencing lockdowns. Do you think that under the circumstances they would not be able to justify these increases?
Well, certainly not in salaries. And, their headcount has gone up from, I think, about 64 in 2014 to 118, so nearly doubled. Now, obviously, this is the agency that was put in place to manage the whole R2 matter, which, by the way, is a complete failure. If you're going to pay people and an executive team to build this team to manage this, and they failed to institute what was supposed to be launched last year, and it wasn't launched, and then it was put into 4 tranches to be launched by June this year, and it's never going to happen. They have failed in their duty. There should have been no bonuses. Massive bonuses were paid, massive increases in salaries. So you have the RTIA, which has just been remiss in every which way you look at it. Let alone the fact that it's now been stopped because it's unconstitutional, which is something they should know about and do. They're not engaged with civil society. We've invited them for stakeholder meetings. They've refused to participate. So all these boxes that they should be ticking that aren't. So this is a serious indictment and a serious problem with government in many respects. But the RTIA takes the cake, quite frankly, when it comes to misspending, maladministration, no oversight, and just jobs for mates, increases for everybody who wants. It's outrageous, quite frankly.
OUTA's Wayne Duvenage, thanks for your time tonight.